Hello and welcome back to Read Becca. You are here today for a tag. We're going to do the Think Twice tag from AJ Dunn Reads and Writes and Jolene from Bookworm Adventure Girl. I absolutely love both of their channels. I kind of follow them religiously. Jolene reads pretty widely, very focused on highlighting Canadian literature though. And I absolutely love that because it obviously doesn't get as much popularity on BookTube. And so she has been currently reading for the Shadow Giller Prize. So that's been really interesting. AJ Dunn is a wonderful thriller-focused reader and writer. And so check out AJ Dunn's channel if you would like to get involved in reading with their thriller group. So I was also tagged by Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot, and she is, of course, famous for the 1001 Books Project. She's reading from the list of 1001 books you must read before you die, and she is a very eclectic reader like myself, so she's not only reading those books, she's also reading a huge variety of other things. So definitely go check out Sandy. So on to the tag. Prompt number 1 is Double Vision, a book that features twins. And I have a very easy one for that. This is the Tensorite series by Neon Yang, and the first book in this series, The Black Tides of Heaven, features twins. And this is a high fantasy series of novellas that are set in an Asian-inspired culture with a really cool magic system that involves pulling on threads of the universe. That's the tensing of the Tensorite. And you have this really intriguing world setup where gender is not fixed. You kind of decide your gender as you grow up. And so it's got that really interesting element playing into how this world works, but yet it's not actually kind of a big deal to them because of that, since it's a norm for them. So I love the Tensorite series, and I've read this whole quartet. Prompt 2 is Double Talk, a book with two or twice in the title, and for that I have Two Serpents Rise by Max Gladstone from the Craft Sequence series. So this is an odd series. It's kind of urban fantasy in a secondary world, and it follows magical lawyers. So there's a lot of like courtroom drama to this series, which is very, very unusual and intriguing. Prompt number 3 is Seeing Double, a book with a reflection, shadow, or a mirror image on the cover. And for that, I have I, Lucifer by Glenn Duncan. And this one is a very irreverent book, obviously. It follows Lucifer as he comes down on Earth and takes over a human body and starts having human experiences and realizes that maybe being a human is not so bad. Prompt number 4 is Take two book covers that look similar but are by different authors. And for this, I have two very similar covers. I think they're both grimdark fantasy as well. I've got Godblind by Anna Stevens and Blackwing by Ed McDonald. Prompt number 5 is I Second That, a retelling. And for this, I have The Sisters of the Winter Wood by Rena Rossner, and this one is a retelling of Christina Rossetti's Goblin Market with some Jewish folklore mixed in. This is another one I haven't read, but I'm very intrigued to get to it. Prompt 6 is Two Can Play at That Game, a character who plays two roles or has an alter ego. So my interpretation of that is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. So this series is a sci-fi dystopian where things are broken up by class, and the classes are split up in colors, basically. So our protagonist is a member of the lowest class, the Reds, and as it's implied in the title, he kind of takes on a secret persona in order to infiltrate the highest class. Prompt 7 is It Takes Two, a duology, and this one is easy. I have quite a few duologies, but one of my favorite recent duologies is A Memory Called Empire and A Desolation Called Peace by Arkady Martine. This is some really fantastic sci-fi with an anthropological focus, lots about memory and society and colonizers' power over the colonized. So really great themes and thought-provoking sci-fi. Next is On the Double, a book told in two timelines, and for that I have The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. This is a mystery thriller type story that starts in the 1980s with the disappearance of a woman who works at the Sundown Motel. And then the split timeline is her niece in contemporary times who is going back to the Sundown Motel and trying to look into the disappearance of her aunt. The ninth prompt is A Perfect Pair. The last two books you gave 5 stars, and I don't have either of these with me because I read them from the library, but first is 10 Days in the Madhouse by Nellie Bly. This was a graphic novel adaptation of Nellie's original journalistic research, where this is a nonfiction, so she actually did spend 10 days in a madhouse and documented that and wound up inciting some reforms. So this was adapted by Brad Rika and illustrated by Courtney C. And then my second book is The Employees by Olga Ravn and translated by Martin Aiken. This is a tiny novella told in statements from employees aboard a spaceship as they're interacting with strange objects that they've recovered from a new planet. There's not much to tell you about this because it's all about themes and very, very quiet understanding of perception. So yeah, this is a weird story, but I absolutely adored it. Number 10 is Two for the Show, a book that's been adapted to film 2 or more times. And while I haven't seen any of the adaptations, I am going with James Herriot's All Creatures Great and Small. This is an account of a small town veterinarian, as far as I know. This one is one I wanted to get on my TBR last year, and I didn't get to it. I do still really want to get to it. I also want to watch the adaptations. There's been a film and 2 series about this, as far as I know. I think there's a new currently running series right now. But yeah, I don't know why I keep putting it off. Number 11 is Two's Company, a book with 2 or more authors or a translated fiction book. I could have gone with either option, but I went for one with 2 authors that I loved this year, and that is My Life in France by Julia Child and Alex Prudhomme. This is such a great historical account of Julia Child's life in France, as it says on the tin, and just her account of starting from nothing in terms of having cooking knowledge. She couldn't hardly cook when she moved there, and she got very swept up into the French food culture and restaurant touring. So yeah, really, really great, wonderful book. Finally, we have Double Take. Recommend 2 books you think would pair well together and tell us why. So first, I have The Sellout by Paul Beatty. This is a very odd novel. It got a ton of award buzz a few years ago, and people were picking up reading it and loving it, but it's kind of gone quiet. I haven't seen a ton of people reading it lately, and this one really does deserve a read. It's very witty and satirical. It's funny and entertaining, but so uncomfortable, and I think that's what's so good about it. It's in a contemporary setting, and it's about consensual slavery, if that makes any sense. It's a very odd book, and so worth your time. The other one is Underground Airlines by Ben H. Winters. This is a sci-fi thriller that also tackles slavery, and it's also in kind of a contemporary setting, but this contemporary setting has an alternate history where slavery remained legal in 4 states. There was no federal abolition of slavery. And so leaving that as a states' rights issue has had major impacts on trade. And we're talking about what does this mean in a contemporary setting? How would that impact slave catching and runaway slaves, that sort of thing? And while also having this great thriller plot. So both of these are incredibly entertaining and not so bleak takes on examining and processing through the concepts of slavery. So I think these are both really great books to pick up and examine that topic in a contemporary setting. So that is it for my Think Twice tag. Who am I gonna tag? I think I'm going to tag Books with Amy, because we're going to do a buddy read later this month, hopefully. I'm going to tag my favorite duo, Scott and Nell. So Nell from Book Hunt and Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. I'm going to tag John from Hey Y'all Listen Up because he is great with tags and I haven't seen him do one in a while. And I'm going to tag Rosie Cockshut because I also haven't seen her as active lately and I would love to see her do a simple tag. So that is it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the tag and thanks so much for watching.